Hey everyone, John Chapman, financial planner at WorthPoint. I'm joined by my colleague Matt Addington, and today we're going to talk about our reactions to a video that took Twitter by storm. It's by someone named Kyren, and the title of the video is "Can't Be No Sucker with Your Money."
King, it's a lot of suckers out here with their money, and you can't be no sucker out here with your money.
Bro, I ain't no sucker. Bet you I don't.
Okay, what's assets?
Assets are things that bring money into your bank account.
What's liabilities?
Liabilities are things that take money out your bank account.
The video got hundreds of thousands of likes, shares, and comments. And as a dad of three, and I know for you too, Matt, a dad of three, and also as a financial advisor for more than a decade or so, this video resonated with me so much. Matt, why did this video get so much attention on Twitter?
I think it gets a lot of attention. It was fantastic, by the way. And it gets a lot of attention because many of us really don't do this. And we wonder why 20 years later, we're having to bail kids out of financial crisis or whatever. And it's really because we haven't taken the time to teach them these things up front.
I noticed that it stirred a bunch of emotions in me. On the one hand, I loved it and I admired King Kyren for doing what he was with his son and taking action. And then a piece of me felt guilty that I wasn't doing enough for my kids. And then also there was, if I'm honest, there was a piece of judgment. I was judging him thinking like, is this too early? Is that the right thing? So it's funny, just like I had to take notice of all of the different, like multiple types of emotions that came out of it just initially.
Yeah. And, clearly some of the answers were scripted, right? And you know what, though, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. He's taking control of the situation and teaching his kid about finances in general. What's an asset? What's a liability? And as a financial advisor, that convicts me too, because I can't tell you that my 9-year-old can tell you what an asset or a liability is.
So what does this tell us a little bit about parenting? It reminds us that we're responsible for teaching our kids. It's not just on the school system. And especially in light of COVID, a lot of people are talking about homeschooling and the parents also shouldering that. And so I think there's a little respect for the school system, but at the same time, that weight falls on the parents. And actually, Matt, that could probably make people feel intimidated if they don't know about financial education themselves.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's one reason why many people don't talk to their kids about it, is because maybe they don't have a good handle on those things. But what can it teach us about parenting? I think there's a few things, right? Number one, our kids are watching. We have to set an example for them. We can't be making those impulse purchases. By the way, I'm still guilty of that from time to time, right?
Amen, me too.
What we've got to realize is that our kids are watching. And they're watching very closely at what we do. And I can tell you, I remember a time we were at a game and my daughter wanted some candy or something and I had no cash on me. And I told her, I was like, I don't have any money. She's like, well, can't you just use your debit card? Right? Like that doesn't use money. Right? And so, we have to take those teaching moments, even those little small teaching moments, to help them realize actually that is money, right? That is very much money.
That's a great point. They're learning through osmosis. And so I've heard a popular phrase called more is caught than taught, just meaning like, they're watching. I guess the good news is that we can also teach our kids. And that's something that we learned through this video is that, yes, a lot's going to be learned through osmosis, but like King Kyren, he took lots of time and energy and probably lots of repetition to teach his young child. And that in some ways that's encouraging that you can do that for kids. Yeah. I'm wondering what this also teaches us about money. One of the things that came to my mind is that, especially financial advisors, they try to make it so complicated, and money doesn't need to be complicated. And there's lots of ways that we may be able to, as parents, relate things like assets and liabilities, maybe in a more dumbed down way, but it doesn't need to be complicated. Even a lower schooler might be able to understand some of these topics.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'll tell you this, like at our church, we focus on kids a lot. And we say, you don't have to wait to be great until you're an adult. You can be a great kid. And so some of the things that we can do to teach our kids about finance is something very, very simple. It's just creating a very simple budget. Something like, you're going to give away 10%, you're going to save 10%, and then you can spend 80%. And if that 80% that you currently have is not enough for you to buy what you want, then watch this. You can save it and you can save up for something that you want. And I've seen a couple of things, little tricks for that. Save it in a clear jar. so that they can see it growing. And many times, let's say they want AirPods or something like that. They save it and they save it and they save it. Now they have enough money to buy those AirPods. And guess what? They realize it took them 6 months to save up that money. They don't want AirPods anymore, right? That was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get to that point.
I think you bring up something important, which is like getting the kids involved, because admittedly, like budgets are so hard. Even for me, I know most of the clients I work with, or even just me as a family, we keep as loose of a budget as possible because it just takes time and energy, and I'm drained. I don't want to think about it. So that makes me think, like, what are the other things or action steps families should be doing, ourselves included? You brought up one time before a buddy of yours that grew up and his family held him really accountable. So tell me a little bit about what you think the action steps are, or what families can be doing.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is this guy grew up in like a rural town here in Texas. And he was telling me the story one day about how when he was playing basketball or football, they'd give him a budget like $20. Again, that doesn't buy you much these days, right? But $20 was the budget. And if he wanted to spend $50 or $100 on some cleats or some basketball shoes, guess who got to pay for that? He did. And I'll tell you this, today, okay, he's also 40 years old. He is one of the most financially savvy people I know. Saves like crazy, very successful in business, fairly tight with his finances. But to me, I think that is attributed to the lessons that his parents taught him along the way.
And some people have talked about allowance versus commission. Every family has got their own style, so I can't necessarily say if one is right or wrong. Matt, tell me what your preference is, or what you'd like to see in others out there as they're coaching their kids about money.
Yeah. And I've heard that as well, commissions versus allowances. And to me, it really, really makes sense. You don't get money just because you live in my house, right? But if you want to earn money and you want to, let's say, go wash the car for me, great. You know, you can make some commissions and you can earn some money that way. I think that makes a lot more sense because kids understand that there are certain responsibilities that you don't get paid for. And then maybe there are certain things that you can do over and above that you can get paid for. And then you're going to understand how hard that money is to come by. And then again, as you save and as you spend and as you give, it just makes it all kind of comes in together when you have skin in the game.
One of the things I love about this, it's also just a reminder that we need to start with the end in mind, both in parenting and in finance. We want our kids to become 18-year-olds or young adults to go out into college. And in order for them to be totally mature to the best of their ability, then we have to take such small incremental steps now. And I'm saying this in part to remind myself, but also to those listening. You have to have grace with yourself, but know that it's a day-to-day thing, whether you're doing grocery shopping or paying bills or the mortgage or mowing the lawn, just little things. A lot of that can add up. So there needs to be a conversation. Don't get overwhelmed by how confusing money can be and all these different terms like compound interest or assets and liabilities. It could just be some basics. So start early and start today. And Matt, what are some of the other things that people could take away from today to start these conversations?
Yeah, I think, start early for sure. But keep in mind that as the kids progress and get older, you can start to introduce some of these things because, like you said, compound interest. That's an incredible thing to understand early because guess what? Compound interest works on investments very well. It also works against you very well on credit card debt, right? And so as they get into high school, maybe you start to introduce some of these more complex things that is really going to help benefit them along the way, not just to get them prepared for school, accounting classes in college, but really to get them prepared for life in general.
Matt, thanks for your time and expertise as always. Big shout out to Kyng Kyren. And for all those parents out there, we encourage you to keep working with your kids and teaching them about finance. If you have any questions or you want to lean on experts like Matt and I, please reach out to our team at WorthPoint, and we're looking forward to catching up with you soon. Matt, we'll see you again next time.
All right, take care.